Sit right there. He isn't coming to save you. What is happening here? I shouted, my voice echoing across my entire estate in Lekki, Lagos. I never thought I'd be telling this story. My name is Chukwemeka Okonkwo, and I'm what people call a billionaire. I own hotels across West Africa, real estate in Abuja, Lagos, and Accra, and tech companies that employ thousands. Forbes Africa featured me twice. But money doesn't protect you from heartbreak, betrayal, or the worst kind of pain, the kind that comes from the people you trust most. It was supposed to be the perfect surprise. March 15th, Amara's birthday. I had spent weeks planning something special, something that would show her just how much she meant to me and my daughter Ngozi. I'd lied to her that morning, telling her I'd be stuck in meetings all day at my Victoria Island office and couldn't celebrate with her. The disappointment in her voice over the phone still echoes in my mind. But I pushed through it, knowing that by evening, her tears of sadness would turn to tears of joy. I had everything planned perfectly. A brand new Range Rover sitting at the dealership with giant red bow, vacation tickets to Zanzibar for a week, and dinner reservations at the most exclusive restaurant in Ikoyi. But first, I needed my sister Chioma to get Amara out of the house, so I could set everything up. I trusted Chioma completely. She was my only sister, the woman who had helped me through the darkest period of my life after my wife Adora died. As I drove through the gates of my estate that afternoon, my heart was racing with excitement. I couldn't wait to see Amara's face when she realized what I'd done. I had called Chioma 30 minutes earlier to confirm everything was ready. Hey sis, I'm about 10 minutes away. Please tell me you have Amara ready and waiting outside like we planned. Oh yes, Chukwemeka, Chioma had said with what I thought was excitement in her voice. Everything is perfectly set up. She's going to be so surprised. But as my Mercedes rounded the final curve of the driveway, what I saw made my blood run cold. There in front of my beautiful home stood 3 people I loved more than life itself, completely drenched in what looked like muddy, dirty water. My 76-year-old mother Neoma, my 13-year-old daughter Ngozi, and my sister Chioma, all wearing white clothes that were now stained brown and dripping with filth. And standing over them, holding an empty bucket, was Amara. The woman I was planning to surprise with the perfect birthday had just humiliated my entire family. I slammed on the brakes so hard that my tires screeched against the pavement. My hands were shaking as I threw the car into park and jumped out, not even bothering to close the door behind me. What is happening here? I shouted, my voice carrying across the entire property. Amara's head snapped up, her eyes wide with what looked like panic. The bucket slipped from her hands and clattered to the ground. My mother was crying, her usually perfect gray hair matted against her head. Ngozi looked devastated, her school uniform completely ruined. And Chioma, my sister, was shaking, whether from cold or shock. I couldn't tell. Chukwemeka, Amara stammered, taking a step toward me. I can explain. This is what it looks like. This isn't what it looks like? I repeated, my voice getting louder with each word. My daughter, my mother, and my sister are standing here soaked in dirty water, and you're holding the bucket. What exactly do you think this looks like? The sight of my family in that condition triggered something primal in me. These weren't just any people. This was my 13-year-old daughter who had already lost her mother to cancer and didn't deserve this kind of treatment. This was my elderly mother who had sacrificed everything to help me raise Ngozi after Adora passed away. This was my sister who had been my rock through every difficult moment in my life. And the woman I loved, the woman I was about to give the world to, had just humiliated all of them. But let me back up. Let me tell you how we got to this moment. 5 years before that terrible day, I was a different man. My name is Chukwemeka Okonkwo, and by the time I was 35, I had built a business empire worth over 500 billion naira. I own hotels across Nigeria, Ghana, and Kenya, restaurant in major cities, real estate properties, and tech companies. Business Day newspaper had featured me on their cover twice. People call me a success story, the African dream personified. But success means nothing when you're holding the hand of the person you love most in the world as they take their last breath. My wife, Adora, wasn't just my spouse. She was my childhood sweetheart, my best friend, my everything. We grew up in the same neighborhood, in Enugu. We went to the same primary school, the same secondary school. I asked her to be my girlfriend when we were both 16 years old, sitting in the back row of our chemistry class. She said yes with a smile that could light up the darkest room. Adora and I didn't just date through secondary school. We built dreams together. We got married right after university graduation from the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. And when I started my first business importing electronics, she was right there beside me, handling the books, answering phones, and believing in me when nobody else did. When I made my first million naira, Adora cried. When I made my first billion, she cried again. But she never cried for the money. She cried because she was proud of how far we'd come together. Ngozi came into our lives when Adora was 28 and I was 30. From the moment that little girl opened her eyes, she became the center of our universe. Adora was the most incredible mother you can imagine. Patient, loving, creative. She would spend hours reading to Ngozi, teaching her about Igbo culture, showing her that she could be anything she wanted to be. Our life was perfect. Too perfect, maybe. Ngozi had just turned 8 when Adora started feeling tired all the time. At first, we thought it was just stress. Then came the headaches. Then the weight loss. The day the doctor at Lagos University Teaching Hospital told us it was cancer. Stage 4, I felt like the floor had disappeared beneath my feet. For the next 8 months, we fought that cancer with everything we had. The best doctors at Eco Hospital, experimental treatments, clinical trials in South Africa. I spent more money on medical bills in those 8 months than most Nigerians see in a lifetime. None of it mattered. Cancer doesn't care how much money you have. Adora passed away on a Tuesday morning in October, with me holding one hand and 8-year-old Ngozi holding the other. Her last words were in Igbo. Lekwet Ndawani Enke Oma Emeka. Mashatagi Kita Onwi. Take care of our baby, Emeka. And don't forget to take care of yourself. The next 5 years were the hardest of my life. I threw myself into work because it was the only way I could function. But every evening when I came home to that big empty house in Lekki, the silence would hit me like a physical blow. My mother, Neoma, moved in with us about 6 months after Adaora's funeral. She could see that I was struggling, and Ngozi needed more stability than I could provide while also running multiple businesses. Neoma had retired from her job as a principal at Queen's College, so she had the time to help raise Ngozi properly. My sister Chioma lived about an hour away in Surulere, but she started visiting more frequently. Chioma had never married and didn't have children of her own, so she poured a lot of her maternal energy into Ngozi. For 5 years, I didn't even look at another woman. Friends would try to set me up on dates. Business associates would invite me to events where they'd introduce me to beautiful, successful women, but none of it interested me. Everything changed on a Thursday afternoon in September 2023. Ngozi was 13 by then, and I was at a business conference at Eco Hotel when I got a call from her school nurse at Corona School. Mr. Okonkwo, Ngozi isn't feeling well. Can someone come pick her up? I left the conference and drove to Ngozi's school myself. I took her to our family doctor at Rendon Hospital, who determined she had a stomach virus. On our way home, I stopped at MedPlus Pharmacy in Lekki to pick up medication. The pharmacist who helped us was a woman I'd never seen there before. She was beautiful, with intelligent eyes, a warm smile, and something about her presence was calming. This medication might make her a little sleepy, but rest is the best medicine, she said to Ngozi with genuine kindness. Thank you, Ngozi said softly. You're very welcome, sweetheart. I hope you feel better soon. As we were leaving, the pharmacist called out, Mr. Okonkwo. I turned around, surprised she knew my name. I hope this doesn't sound inappropriate, but your daughter seems like a really sweet girl. You're doing a great job as a father. Those words hit me harder than they should have. Thank you, I said. That means more than you know. I'm Amaran Nwankwo, by the way. Chukwemeka Okonkwo, and this is Ngozi. Nice to meet you both. That was it. A simple interaction that lasted maybe 5 minutes, but something about Amara stayed with me. Over the next few days, as I took care of Ngozi while she recovered, I kept thinking about the pharmacist who had been so kind to both of us. I found myself stopping by that pharmacy later that week. Amara was working again, and when she saw me, her face lit up with recognition. "Mr. Okonkwo, how is Ngozi feeling?" "Much better, thank you. She's back in school." We talked for maybe 10 more minutes about nothing important, but there was something easy about talking to Amara. I started finding reasons to stop by that pharmacy once or twice a week. Sometimes I needed actual prescriptions. Sometimes I just wanted to talk to someone who didn't know my whole tragic story. About 2 months after we first met, Amara told me about her dreams. "I want to own my own pharmacy someday," she said. "A place that feels like a community health center, where people can come for advice and support." Her ambition reminded me of Adora, who had always been driven and goal-oriented. One evening, Amara said something that surprised me. "Can I ask you something personal?" Ngozi mentioned her grandmother, but she's never mentioned her mother. I felt my chest tighten. Her mother passed away 5 years ago. Cancer. Amara's face immediately filled with compassion. "Oh my God, Chukwemeka. I'm so sorry." What struck me was that she didn't try to fill the silence with empty platitudes. She just acknowledged the difficulty, which felt more respectful than all the hollow phrases people usually offered. Over the next few weeks, our conversations became longer and more personal. I learned that Amara had grown up in a middle-class family in Calabar, that she had put herself through pharmacy school at the University of Lagos, and that she was saving money to start her own business. The more I got to know Amara, the more impressed I became. She worked extra shifts to save money. She volunteered at a local health clinic in Makoko on weekends, providing free medication consultations. Most importantly, she was wonderful with Ngozi. One evening, I was putting Ngozi to bed when she said something that stopped me in my tracks. "Papa, do you like Amara?" "Why do you ask that, NWAM?" "Because you smile differently when you talk about her." That night, I sat in my home office and thought seriously about my feelings for Amara for the first time. 2 days before Christmas, I invited Amara to our house for dinner. Watching her interact with Ngozi that evening was like seeing a glimpse of what our life could be like. After Ngozi went to bed, Amara and I sat in my living room talking until almost midnight. "Would you like to have dinner again sometime?" "Just the two of us," she asked. My heart raced. I would like that very much. Our first official date was the following Friday night. I was nervous in a way I hadn't been since I was a teenager. "I need to be honest with you," I said. "I haven't been on a date in 20 years. And after Adora passed away, I never thought I'd want to be with anyone else." "What changed your mind?" "You did. The way you are with Ngozi, the way you talk about your dreams. You make me remember that there are still good things in life worth hoping for." Amara reached across the table and took my hand. "Chukwemeka, I've dated other people, but I've never felt as connected to someone. I'm not trying to replace Ngozi's mother. I just want to be part of your lives, if you'll let me." That night, I knew I was falling in love again. Amara and I dated for 8 months before I proposed. They were the best 8 months I'd had since Adaora's death. Amara brought joy and laughter back into our house. But not everyone in my family was happy about my relationship with Amara. From the very beginning, my mother Neoma was cold toward her. "She seems nice enough," Neoma would say. "I just hope you're not rushing into anything." My sister Chioma was even more skeptical. "Chukwemeka, don't you think it's suspicious that this woman is suddenly so perfect for you and Ngozi?" These conversations planted seeds of doubt that I tried to ignore. Despite my family's reservations, my relationship with Amara continued to deepen. By month 7, she was spending most weekends at our house. In August, exactly 8 months after our first date, I proposed to Amara at Lekki Conservation Center. When we got home to share the news with Ngozi, my daughter screamed with excitement. But when I called Neoma and Chioma, their reactions were subdued. "I hope you thought this through carefully," Neoma said in a tone that didn't sound happy at all. Amara moved into our house 2 weeks after our engagement. For a few months, everything seemed perfect. But while our relationship was flourishing, the tension with my mother and sister was getting worse. In November, Ngozi woke up sick with a fever. For the next week, she was completely bedridden. Amara immediately stepped up to help care for her, but my mother announced she was moving in until Ngozi is better. Then Chioma arrived with her own suitcase. Suddenly, our house felt crowded with family members who seemed to be competing for authority over Ngozi's care. Every suggestion Amara made was politely dismissed. "We've got this covered," Chioma would say. I could see that Amara was feeling pushed aside, but I was also grateful for the help from my mother and sister. The situation exploded one Tuesday afternoon. Ngozi was feeling better, and Amara suggested taking her for a walk outside. "I don't think that's a good idea," Neoma said immediately. "It's actually a beautiful day," Amara replied. "The doctor said fresh air would be good. I think I know what's best for my granddaughter." The argument that followed was awful. "You've known Ngozi for less than a year," Chioma jumped in. "We've been taking care of her since she was born." I should have defended Amara, but I was scared of creating more conflict, so I said nothing. Amara looked at me with tears in her eyes, waiting for me to support her. When I remained silent, something changed in her expression. That night, I tried to talk to her. "Everyone is just stressed," I said. "Chukwemeka, this isn't about stress. This is about your mother and sister not wanting me in this family, and you not being willing to stand up for me." By December, Neoma and Chioma still showed no signs of moving back to their own homes. The breaking point came in early March, just 2 weeks before Amara's birthday. "This living situation isn't working for me anymore," Amara said one evening. "What do you want me to do?" "I want you to set boundaries. At some point, you have to choose between being a son and brother first, or being a husband and partner first." I decided to plan something special for Amara's birthday to show her how much she meant to me. I would use the day to have a serious conversation about setting boundaries with my family. I called Chioma the morning of Amara's birthday. "I need you to get Amara out of the house for about 2 hours this afternoon, so I can set up her birthday surprise." "What kind of surprise?" "I'm giving her a car and booking a vacation. But more importantly, I'm going to talk to her about our future and how we need to start putting our relationship first." There was a pause. "Are you sure that's a good idea?" "Chioma, she's going to be my wife. Of course our relationship should be the priority." "Okay, Chukwemeka, I'll help with your surprise." I should have heard the resignation in her voice. At 3:30 that afternoon, I was driving home with my heart full of excitement. I called Chioma to make sure everything was on schedule. "Hey sis, I'm about 10 minutes away. Please tell me you have Amara ready and waiting outside like we planned." "Oh yes, Chukwemeka. Everything is perfectly set up. She's going to be so surprised." As I turned into the driveway of my Lekki estate, I was mentally rehearsing what I was going to say to Amara. But as my car rounded the final curve of my house came into view, the words I had planned died in my throat. There, standing in front of my home, were 3 people wearing white clothing that was completely soaked with muddy, dirty water. My mother Neoma, looking frail and shocked. My sister Chioma, her white blouse stained brown. And my daughter Ngozi, my beautiful 13-year-old daughter who had already lost one mother, standing there in her white school uniform now ruined with filth. And standing above them, holding an empty bucket, was Amara. What just happened? Can you believe what Chukwemeka walked into on what was supposed to be the perfect day? Comment shocked. If you can't wait to find out the truth, like this video and subscribe to AfricanTales by Zion for next chapter, where we discover what really happened that day. Hit that notification bell. This story is about to get even more intense. I slammed on the brakes so hard that my tires screeched against the pavement. My hands were shaking as I threw the car into park and jumped out, not even bothering to close the door behind me. "What is happening here?" I shouted, my voice carrying across the entire estate. Amara's head snapped up, her eyes wide with panic. The bucket slipped from her hands and clattered to the ground. My mother was crying, her usually perfect gray hair matted against her head. Ngozi looked devastated, her white school uniform completely ruined. And Chioma was shaking, whether from cold or shock, I couldn't tell. "Chukwemeka," Amara stammered, taking a step toward me. "I can explain. This is what it looks like." "This isn't what it looks like," I repeated, my voice getting louder with each word. My daughter, my mother, and my sister are standing here soaked in dirty water, and you're holding the bucket. What exactly do you think this looks like? The sight of my family in that condition triggered something primal in me. Ngozi had already lost her mother to cancer. She didn't deserve this kind of treatment. My elderly mother, who had sacrificed everything to help me raise Ngozi after Adora passed away. My sister, who had been my rock through every difficult moment. And the woman I loved, the woman I was about to give the world to, had just humiliated all of them. Chukwemeka, please. Amara's voice was desperate now. You have to listen to me. Listen to you? I cut her off. Look at them. Look at my family. I rushed Ngozi first, wrapping my arms around my shivering daughter. NWAM, are you hurt? Are you okay? I'm okay, Papa, she said, but I could hear the tears in her voice. But I'm so cold and my uniform is ruined. We're going to get you cleaned up and warm, I promise. I turned to my mother, who looked smaller and more fragile than I'd ever seen her. Mama, are you all right? Do you need to go to the hospital? I'm fine, NWM, she said in Igbo. But I can't believe she would do something like this. Chioma? I looked at my sister, who was still glaring at Amara with an expression that could have melted steel. I'm okay, Emeka, but this is exactly what we've been trying to tell you about her. Chukwemeka, please. Amara was crying now, reaching out toward me. You have to let me explain what really happened here. Explain. I turned on her with fury I'd never felt in my life. Explain how you threw dirty water on a 76-year-old woman. Explain how you humiliated a 13-year-old child who's done nothing but love and trust you. What possible explanation could you have for this? It was an accident. I was trying to... An accident? Chioma stepped forward, her voice shaking with anger. An accident doesn't explain why you were screaming at us before you threw that water. An accident doesn't explain why you told us we weren't welcome in this house. That's not what happened. Amara protested. Are you calling me a liar? Neoma asked, her voice quiet but deadly serious. I looked between the women in my life. 3 people who were soaked and humiliated, and 1 person holding an empty bucket with tears streaming down her face. The evidence was right in front of me. I trusted you, I said to Amara, my voice breaking. I brought you into our home, into our family. I was ready to give you everything, my love, my daughter, my entire life. And this is how you treat the people I care about most. Chukwemeka, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. I understand that my mother and sister were right about you all along. I understand that I was so desperate to be happy again that I ignored every warning sign. Please, just give me 5 minutes to tell you what really happened here. I don't need 5 minutes. I can see what happened. My family is standing here soaked in dirty water, and you're holding the bucket. The pain in Amara's eyes was almost unbearable to look at, but the sight of my mother, sister, and daughter in their condition was worse. Chukwemeka, Amara said quietly, if you send me away now, you'll regret it for the rest of your life. The only thing I regret is not listening to my family when they tried to warn me about you. Your family? Amara started to say something, then stopped herself. You know what? You're right. You should listen to your family. They clearly know you better than I do. What's that supposed to mean? It means that I thought you were the kind of man who would trust a woman he loves enough to hear her side of the story. I thought you were the kind of father who would want to understand what really happened before making assumptions. I was wrong about both of those things. Her words stung because they contained just enough truth to make me doubt myself for a moment. But then I looked at Ngozi's ruined uniform and my mother's tearful face, and my resolve hardened. Get your things and get out, I said coldly. Chukwemeka, get out. I screamed loud enough that the security guards at the gate probably heard me. Get out of my house. Get out of our lives and don't ever come back. Amara stared at me for a long moment, tears streaming down her face. Then she turned and walked toward the house to gather her belongings. As I watched her go, part of me wanted to call her back. Part of me wanted to demand a full explanation. Part of me remembered all the reasons I had fallen in love with her in the first place. But the larger part of me, the part that was a father first, a son second, and a brother third, knew that I had to protect my family. Come, I said to my family, let's get you all cleaned up and warm. As we walked toward the house, Chioma put her arm around Ngozi and whispered something in her ear that made my daughter nod. Neoma leaned heavily on my arm, still shaking. We tried to tell you, NWM, Neoma said quietly. We could see what kind of person she really was. I'm sorry, Mama. I should have listened to you and Chioma. You loved her, Chioma said. There's no shame in that. But some people are very good at hiding their true nature until they don't need it anymore. An hour later, after my family had showered and changed into clean clothes, Amara appeared in the living room with 2 suitcases and the engagement ring I had given her. I'm leaving, she said simply, placing the ring on the center table. I wanted to say something, anything, but I couldn't find words. Chukwemeka, Amara said, looking directly at me, I want you to remember this day. I want you to remember exactly how this felt, because someday you're going to find out the truth about what really happened here. And when that day comes, you're going to realize that you chose to believe the worst about someone who loved you and Ngozi more than her own life. Don't you dare, Chioma started to say. I'm not talking to you. Amara cut her off, never taking her eyes off me. I'm talking to the man who was supposed to love me enough to trust me. The man who was supposed to protect me the way I've been trying to protect his daughter. Protect Ngozi? I found my voice. By throwing dirty water on her? Amara just shook her head sadly. Goodbye, Chukwemeka. I hope your family gives you everything you think you need. And then she was gone. I sat in my living room surrounded by the people who loved me most, feeling like I had just made the right decision for all the wrong reasons. Or maybe the wrong decision for all the right reasons. I couldn't tell anymore. All I knew was that the woman I had planned to surprise with a perfect birthday had just walked out of my life forever, and I was the one who had sent her away. As I looked at my mother, sister, and daughter all safe and dry in clean clothes, I told myself that I had protected my family from someone who could have caused a much worse harm down the road. But late that night, as I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, I couldn't shake the memory of the pain in Amara's eyes when she looked at me one last time. And I couldn't stop thinking about her final words. Someday, you're going to find out the truth about what really happened here. What if I had just made the biggest mistake of my life? What if there was more to this story than what I had seen with my own eyes? What if the people I trusted most had been lying to me all along? But those were questions for another day. That night, all I could do was hold on to belief that I had done the right thing for my family, even if it meant losing the second love of my life forever. The days after Amara left felt like living in a house of ghosts. Every corner of our Lekki home held memories of her. The kitchen where she had made breakfast for Ngozi. The living room where we'd planned our future together. I threw myself into work with a vengeance. 18-hour days became my new normal. I scheduled back-to-back meetings, took on new projects, accepted speaking engagements across West Africa. Anything to avoid sitting in that house and thinking about what I had lost. Chukwemeka, you need to slow down. My business partner Ikenna warned me during a video conference. You look like you haven't slept in weeks. He was right, but I couldn't slow down. When I was negotiating deals or analyzing market trends, I could forget for a few hours that I'd sent away the woman I had planned to spend my life with. At home, life had settled into a routine that felt both familiar and wrong. Neoma had taken over all the household management duties that Amara used to handle. Chioma was always there, helping with Ngozi, filling the evenings with activities. You see how much better things are now, Neoma said to me one evening. No drama, no conflict, just family taking care of family. Ngozi is so much more relaxed now, Emeka, Chioma added. She doesn't have to worry about walking on eggshells around someone who might explode at any moment. Their comments should have made me feel better about my decision, but instead, they made me feel worse. Because the truth was, life didn't feel better without Amara. It felt empty. Ngozi seemed different too, though I couldn't quite put my finger on how. She still laughed and played, but there was something missing from her usual bright energy. Are you okay, NWM? I asked her one evening. You seem sad lately. I'm okay, Papa. Do you miss Amara? Ngozi was quiet for a long moment, like she was carefully choosing her words. Papa, can I tell you something important? Of course, sweetheart. You can tell me anything. But before Ngozi could say another word, Chioma appeared in the doorway. Emeka, I'm sorry to interrupt, but you have an urgent phone call from Accra. Something about the hotel deal you've been working on. I looked between my daughter and my sister, torn. The Accra deal was worth 200 million naira. Can you hold that thought, NWAM? I'll come back in a few minutes, and we can talk about whatever you wanted to tell me. Okay, Papa, Ngozi said quietly, but I caught a flash of disappointment in her eyes. By the time I finished the call, which took over an hour, Ngozi was asleep. I made a mental note to continue our conversation the next day, but the next day brought its own crises, and I forgot. This became a pattern over the following weeks. Every time I tried to have a real conversation with Ngozi, something would interrupt us. Phone calls, meetings, family activities planned by Neoma and Chioma. Papa, can we talk? Ngozi would ask. Of course, sweetheart. Just give me 5 minutes to finish this email. But 5 minutes would turn into an hour. And by then, Neoma would announce that dinner was ready, or Chioma would suggest a family movie night. I started to notice that Ngozi would get a particular look on her face during these interruptions. Frustrated, almost desperate. Like she was carrying something heavy that she needed to share, but couldn't find the right moment. 2 months after Mara left, I was having lunch with Ikenna when he mentioned something that caught my attention. By the way, Emeka, I ran into that pharmacist you used to bring to company events. Amara something. My heart skipped a beat. You saw Amara? Where? At the health conference at Eco Hotel. She was presenting a paper on community pharmacy programs. Really impressive stuff. She's opened her own pharmacy now. It's been incredibly successful. Channels TV even did a story about how she's providing free health services in Ajigunle. I stared at Ikenna, trying to process this information. The woman who had supposedly thrown dirty water on my family in a fit of rage was out there building a business dedicated to helping the poor. Did she mention me? No. But Emeka, she looked different. Sadder, like someone who'd been through something difficult. The conversation stayed with me for days. If Amara was really the manipulative, cruel person my family claimed she was, would she be dedicated her life to helping others? That night, I found myself in Ngozi's room again, hoping to finally have a conversation that kept getting interrupted. NWAM, are you awake? Yes, Papa. I wanted to talk to you. You've been trying to tell me something for weeks now, and I keep getting distracted. I'm sorry about that. Ngozi sat up in bed, and even in the dim light, I could see hope in her eyes. Papa, it's about what happened with Amara. I think you need to know. Ngozi. Neoma's voice came from the doorway. Chukwamika, what are you two doing up so late? We're just talking, Mama. Oh, that's sweet. But Emeka, you have that early morning meeting with investors from South Africa. You need your sleep. This is important, Mama. I'm sure it is. But Ngozi's been having nightmares lately about that awful day with Amara. I don't think it's healthy for her to keep reliving those memories. I looked at Ngozi, who had gone very still. You've been having nightmares? Not exactly nightmares, Papa. More like dreams about what happened. Neoma said quickly. Dr. Adeyemi at the hospital said it might be a form of trauma response. He said the best thing is to not dwell on what happened and focus on moving forward. Ngozi was looking back and forth between me and Neoma with an expression I couldn't read. Maybe we should talk tomorrow, I said to Ngozi, though I hated to postpone again. Okay, Papa, she said quietly. But tomorrow brought another interruption, and the day after that brought another excuse. And slowly, I began to realize that I hadn't had a single private conversation with my daughter since the day Amara left. The pattern was becoming impossible to ignore. Every time Ngozi tried to talk to me about something serious, my mother or sister would appear with urgent needs or general suggestions that we should wait for a better time. For months after Amara left, I was walking through Lekki Phase 1 when I passed a location where she had opened her new pharmacy, Amara Community Pharmacy. Through the window, I could see her helping an elderly patient. Her face was animated as she explained something about medication. She looked as beautiful as ever, but thinner, and there was a sadness around her eyes that hadn't been there before. As I watched her work, I found myself remembering all the reasons I had loved her: her kindness toward Ngozi, her respect for Adaora's memory, the way she had insisted on contributing to our household instead of taking advantage of my wealth. Was this really a woman who would throw dirty water on a child, an elderly woman out of spite? For the first time since that terrible day, I allowed myself to seriously consider the possibility that I might have been wrong. That evening, I came home determined to finally have an uninterrupted conversation with Ngozi. I was going to turn off my phone, ignore any interruptions, and listen to whatever she had been trying to tell me for months. But when I walked into the house, I found Neoma and Chioma in the kitchen, whispering urgently about something. They stopped talking when they saw me. "Is everything okay?" I asked. "Oh, yes. Everything's fine," Neoma said quickly. "We were just discussing Ngozi's school schedule." "Where's Ngozi?" "She's at a sleepover at her friend Zainab's house," Chioma said. "She'll be back tomorrow afternoon." I felt a surge of frustration. Another missed opportunity. She didn't mention a sleepover this morning. It was a last-minute invitation. Zainab's mother called this afternoon, and we thought it would be good for Ngozi to spend time with friends. Something about their explanations felt rehearsed. The next day, when Ngozi came home from her sleepover, she seemed even more withdrawn than usual. I followed her upstairs and knocked on her door. "How was the sleepover, NWAM?" "It was fine." "Just fine? You usually love spending time with Zainab." Ngozi was quiet for a moment. "Papa, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Do you think Amar was a bad person?" The question caught me off guard. "Why do you ask?" I keep thinking about her, and I can't understand why she would do what everyone says she did. It doesn't seem like her. Sometimes people aren't who we think they are, sweetheart. But what if they are who we think they are, and we just don't understand what really happened? Before I could respond, Chioma appeared in the doorway. "Emeka, the lawyer is on the phone. He says it's urgent about the merger." I looked at Ngozi, who had already closed down again. Another moment lost. As I left to take the call, I heard Chioma say to Ngozi, "You know, sweetheart, sometimes it's better not to dwell on sad things from the past." But Ngozi's question stayed with me. What if Amara really was who we thought she was? What if we just didn't understand what really happened? Tomorrow, I would find out the truth, no matter what it cost me. Something doesn't add up. Ngozi keeps trying to tell her father something, but why does she keep getting interrupted? Comment, let her speak. If you're frustrated, like and subscribe for next chapter, where the truth finally comes out. You won't believe what Ngozi witnessed. Don't miss it. 5 months had passed since I made the biggest mistake of my life, though I didn't know it yet. That Saturday night, after deciding I would finally get the truth from Ngozi, I went to bed with determination I hadn't felt in months. But sleep didn't come easily. I tossed and turned, my mind racing with questions. Why did Ngozi always look so desperate when she tried to talk to me? Why did every conversation get interrupted at crucial moments? Finally, around 2 a.m., exhaustion won, and I fell into a deep sleep. That's when she came to me. Adora appeared in my dream, as clearly as if she were standing right beside my bed. She looked exactly as she had before the cancer took her, vibrant, beautiful, with that gentle smile that had captured my heart when we were teenagers. But her eyes held a sadness I'd never seen when she was alive. "Chukwamika," she said, her voice soft but urgent. "My love, you need to wake up." "Adora, is this real?" "As real as it needs to be." "Emeka, you're failing our daughter." "What do you mean?" "I've been taking care of Ngozi. I've given her everything. Everything except what she needs most. You haven't been listening to her." "I try to listen." "No, Emeka, you try to fit listening into your schedule. There's a difference." In the dream, Adora moved closer to me, and I could smell her perfume, the same scent she'd worn since we were in secondary school. "Our daughter has been trying to tell you something for months. Something that will change everything you think you know about the day you sent Amara away. Amara betrayed our family. Did she, Emeka? Or did you betray the woman you love by not trusting her enough to hear her side of the story?" I saw what happened with my own eyes. You saw what someone wanted you to see. But Ngozi saw what really happened, and she's been trying to tell you the truth. What truth? The truth about why Amara was holding that bucket. The truth about who put the dirty water in it. The truth about who positioned your family exactly where they needed to be to get splashed. My heart started racing, even in sleep. What are you saying? I'm saying that the people you trust most have been lying to you, and Ngozi knows it. That's impossible. Emeka, remember when I was dying and I made you promise to take care of our baby? I didn't just mean provide for her financially. I meant listen to her, believe her, protect her from people who would hurt her, even if those people are family. Neoma and Chioma would never hurt Ngozi. They would hurt anyone who threatens their control over your life, including our daughter, if she tries to tell you the truth. The dream started to fade, but Adaora's voice remained crystal clear. Go to Ngozi now, Emeka. Tonight, wake her up and listen to what she's been trying to tell you. And this time, don't let anyone interrupt you. Adora, wait. I love you, Emeka, but I love our daughter more. And right now, she needs her father to choose her truth over everyone else's lies. I woke up with tears on my face and my heart pounding. The dream had felt so real that I could still smell Adaora's perfume in the air. I sat up in bed, shaking, and looked at the clock. 2:17 a.m. Every instinct told me to wait until morning, but Adaora's words echoed in my mind. Go to Ngozi now. Tonight. I got out of bed and walked quietly down the hall to my daughter's room. I knocked softly. Ngozi, NWAM, are you awake? No response. I knocked a little louder. I heard rustling, then footsteps. The door opened and my daughter appeared, rubbing her eyes. Papa, what's wrong? Are you okay? I'm fine, sweetheart, but I need to talk to you about something. Can I come in? Now, Papa? It's the middle of the night. I know and I'm sorry, but this can't wait anymore. Ngozi stepped aside to let me into her room. I closed the door behind me and made sure it was locked. Papa, you're scaring me a little. What's going on? I sat down on her bed and pulled her down beside me. Ngozi, for months you've been trying to tell me something about what happened on Amara's birthday. Every time you try, something interrupts us. Tonight, no one is going to interrupt us. But Papa, Grandma says, I don't care what Grandma says. I don't care what Auntie Chioma says. I only care what you say. You're my daughter, and your voice matters more than anyone else's. Ngozi stared at me for a long moment, like she was trying to decide whether to trust me. Papa, if I tell you the truth, will you believe me? Even if it's different from what everyone else has been saying, I will believe you, NWAM. I promise. She took a deep breath that seemed too big for her 13-year-old body. Papa, Amara didn't throw dirty water on us on purpose. What do you mean? I mean, she didn't know it was dirty water, and she didn't know we were standing where it would hit us. My mouth went dry. Ngozi, I need you to tell me exactly what you saw that day. Everything. Okay, but Papa, you have to promise not to get mad at me for not telling you sooner. I tried so many times, but I'm not mad at you, sweetheart. I'm mad at myself for not listening sooner. Ngozi nodded and began to speak in a voice that was steady but scared. Papa, I saw Auntie Chioma talking to Amara outside. She told Amara that there was a bucket of dirty water by the garden shed that needed to be thrown away. A bucket of dirty water? But Papa, when Auntie Chioma first went outside, that bucket had clean water in it. I saw her pour dirt and mud into it while Amara wasn't looking. The room started spinning. You saw Chioma put dirt in the water? Yes. And then she told Amara to wait while she went to get something from the shed. But she didn't go to the shed, Papa. She came inside and got me and Grandma. She got you and Grandma? She told us to put on white clothes because she wanted to take pictures of us in the garden. She said white would look pretty with the flowers. I felt sick. What happened next? She brought us outside and positioned us in exactly the spot where the water would hit us when Amara threw it away. Then she called out to Amara and told her to go ahead and throw the water away. And Amara had no idea? No, Papa. She looked confused when Auntie Chioma told her to throw it, but she did it because Ani said it needed to be done. And when it splashed on us, Amara looked horrified. She kept saying it was an accident and trying to apologize. What did Ani Chioma and Grandma do? They started yelling at Amara, telling her that she had done it on purpose. Ani Chioma said that Amara had been waiting for a chance to humiliate our family. And then you drove up. I put my head in my hands. The woman I had loved, the woman I had been planning to surprise with the perfect birthday, had been completely set up by my own family. Ngozi, why would Ani Chioma and Grandma do something like this? Papa, they didn't want you to marry Amara. They kept saying that once you got married, everything would change and they wouldn't be as important to you anymore. That's not true. I know, Papa, but they didn't believe it. They also said that Amara was just using you for your money, even though that didn't make sense because Amara always paid for her own things. I thought about how Amara had insisted on contributing to household expenses, how she had refused my offer to finance her pharmacy business, how she'd been saving her own money. Ngozi, did they say anything else about why they didn't like Amara? Ani Chioma said that Amara made her feel bad about herself because Amara was successful and independent and Ani Chioma wasn't. What do you mean? I heard Ani Chioma talking to Grandma one day. She said that Amara was around the same age as her, but was already making millions of naira with her own business, while Ani Chioma had to depend on you for everything. The pieces were falling into place, and the picture they created was devastating. My mother and sister hadn't just been protective. They had been protecting their positions in our family. They had seen Amara as a threat to their influence and financial security. Papa, there's something else. What, sweetheart? I tried to tell you what really happened that day, right after it happened. But when you were yelling at Amara, everyone was talking so loud that no one could hear me. I remember. And then after Amara left, I kept trying to tell you the truth. But every time I started to, Grandma or Ani Chioma would interrupt us. You think they were doing it on purpose? Papa, it happened every single time. Every time I tried to tell you something important, they would suddenly need something or remember something urgent. After a while, they started telling me that it would just make you sad to talk about Amara, and that I should let you move on. I felt rage building in my chest like nothing I'd ever experienced. My own mother and sister had not only framed an innocent woman, they had spent months manipulating my daughter to keep her quiet about it. Ngozi, I am so sorry I didn't listen to you sooner. It's okay, Papa. You were hurt and busy with work. No, it's not okay. You're my daughter, and protecting you means listening to you even when it's inconvenient, especially when it's inconvenient. Ngozi started crying then, and I pulled her into my arms. Papa, I miss Amara so much. She was nice to me, and she made you happy, and she never tried to pretend to be my mother. She just loved us. I know, NWAM. I know. Do you think she'll ever forgive us? I don't know, sweetheart, but I'm going to try to make this right. We talked until almost 4 a.m. Ngozi told me every detail she could remember about that day and about the months that had followed. How Neoma and Chioma had worked together to keep her from talking to me. How they had convinced her that telling the truth would just hurt me more. How they had made her feel guilty for wanting to defend Amara. By the time Ngozi finally fell back asleep, I was angrier than I had ever been in my life. But underneath the anger was something worse. The crushing realization that I had failed everyone I claimed to love. I had failed Amara by not trusting her enough to hear her explanation. I had failed Ngozi by not making time to listen to what she needed to tell me. And I had failed myself by allowing other people to manipulate my decisions about the most important relationships in my life. As I sat in my daughter's room watching her sleep, I made several decisions. First, I was going to confront my mother and sister about what they had done. Second, I was going to find Amara and beg her to forgive me. Third, I was going to make sure that nothing like this ever happened to my family again. The next morning, I left the house early and drove to Amara's pharmacy in Lekki Phase 1. It was Sunday, so she wouldn't be working, but I wanted to see what she had built in the months since I destroyed our relationship. The pharmacy was in a modest building, but it was clearly thriving. Through the windows, I could see shelves stocked with medications, a consultation area, and a small waiting area with health education materials. A sign on the door read, Amara Community Pharmacy, affordable health care for everyone. Free medication consultations every Saturday. I spent the next few hours at a cafe researching everything I could find about Amara's business. What I discovered made me feel even worse. Amara hadn't just opened a successful pharmacy. She had created a community health resource that was making a real difference. She offered sliding scale pricing for people who couldn't afford medications. She provided free health screenings and education programs. She had partnered with local doctors to create a clinic that served uninsured patients. In just 5 months, she had built something that was generating significant revenue while also serving people who've been ignored by other healthcare providers. An article in Business Day described her as a millionaire entrepreneur who chose community service over maximum profit. Amara had been successful in her own right, not someone looking for a wealthy husband. She had chosen to be with me in Ngozi because she loved us, not because she needed us financially. That evening, I came home prepared to confront my mother and sister. But first, I needed to make sure Ngozi was safe and supported. And WAM, I need to have a difficult conversation with Grandma and Auntie Chioma tonight. Are you okay with that? What are you going to tell them? I'm going to tell them that I know the truth about what happened with Amara, and that their behavior toward you and me has been unacceptable. Papa, what if they get mad? Then they get mad. Ngozi, part of being a good father is protecting you from people who would hurt you, even if those people are family. After Ngozi went to bed, I asked Neoma and Chioma to join me in the living room. This sounds serious, Chioma said as they sat down. It is serious. I know what you did to Amara. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Neoma and Chioma exchanged a look that confirmed everything Ngozi had told me. Chukwamika, I don't know what you're talking about, Neoma said. I'm talking about the fact that you set Amara up on her birthday. I'm talking about the fact that you deliberately framed her for something she didn't do. That's ridiculous, Chioma said, but her voice was shaking. Is it? Because Ngozi saw the whole thing. She saw you put dirt in clean water. She saw you position our family exactly where we needed to be to get splashed. She saw you orchestrate the entire thing. The silence that followed was deafening. Ngozi is a child, Neoma said finally. Children sometimes misunderstand what they see. Ngozi is 13 years old, and she's one of the most honest people I know. More honest than either of you, apparently. Chukwamika, Chioma said, even if what you're saying is true, we did it to protect you. Protect me from what? From making the biggest mistake of your life. That woman was going to ruin everything. What I built was a relationship with a woman who loved me and my daughter. You destroyed that. She was using you, Neoma protested. For what, Mama? Amara is a millionaire. She didn't need my money. She was paying her own expenses. She refused my financial help with her business. Then why was she with you? Because she loved me. Because she loved Ngozi. Because she wanted to build a family with us. And what about us? Neoma's voice was rising. Were we supposed to just disappear? You were supposed to support the decision I made about my own life. You were supposed to trust that I could choose a partner without your interference. The argument continued, with tears and accusations flying. But I stood firm. Both of you need to move back to your own homes tonight. Chukwamika, you can't be serious, Neoma said. I've never been more serious. What you did to Amara was cruel and wrong. What you did to Ngozi was even worse. And what you did to me, lied in my face for months, manipulating my emotions, destroying my relationship, is unforgivable. It took them 3 hours to pack and leave. They spent most of that time alternating between tearful apologies and angry accusations. At midnight, I watched my mother and sister drive away from my house. I felt a combination of sadness and relief. The next morning, I began the most important campaign of my life, winning back the woman I had wronged. The truth is out. Chukwamika finally knows what really happened. But will Amara forgive him after 5 months of pain? Comment, go get her. If you wanted to fight for love, like and subscribe for next chapter, where Chukwamika tries to win back Amara. This is going to be emotional. My first stop was a flower shop in Victoria Island where I ordered the largest arrangement of white roses they could create. White roses have been Amara's favorites. My second stop was a jewelry store on Adeolo Diku Street, where I bought a necklace with a pendant that read Truth in elegant script. My third stop was Amara's pharmacy. I arrived at 9 a.m. right when she opened for business. Through the window, I watched her unlock the door and turn on the lights. She looked as beautiful as ever, but thinner and sadder than I remembered. I waited until she had settled into her morning routine. Then I walked through the door. When she saw me, her face went through a series of emotions: surprise, hurt, anger, and finally careful neutrality. Chukwemeka, what are you doing here? I came to apologize and to tell you that I know the truth about what happened on your birthday. Amara stared at me for a long moment. And what truth is that? The truth that you were innocent. The truth that my mother and sister set you up. The truth that I failed you in every possible way. Her eyes filled with tears, but her voice remained steady. It took you 5 months to figure that out. It took me 5 months to listen to my daughter. She saw what really happened, and she's been trying to tell me the truth since the day you left. Ngozi tried to tell you? She tried to tell me dozens of times. But my mother and sister made sure that every conversation got interrupted. Amara closed her eyes and took a deep breath. So they not only framed me, but they manipulated Ngozi to keep her quiet about it. Yes, and I'm so sorry, Amara. I'm sorry I didn't trust you. I'm sorry I didn't listen to your explanation. I'm sorry I let other people's opinions matter more than my own feelings about the woman I loved. Loved. Past tense. Love. Present tense. I never stopped loving you. Amara, even when I thought you had betrayed my family, I never stopped loving you. She wiped tears from her eyes. Chukwemeka, do you have any idea what the last 5 months have been like for me? Tell me. I lost the man I was going to marry. I lost a daughter I was learning to love like my own. I lost a family I thought we were building together. And I lost all of it because the people who were supposed to love you most decided I was a threat to their control over your life. I know, and I know that apologizing isn't enough to fix what I did to you. Then why are you here? Because I want to try to earn your forgiveness. Because I want to prove to you that I'm capable of being the man you thought I was when you agreed to marry me. And how you plan to do that? By spending however long it takes to show you that I've learned from my mistakes. By proving that I'll choose you over anyone else's opinion of you. By being the partner you deserved all along. Amara was quiet for a long time, studying my face like she was trying to decide whether to trust me. Chukwemeka, I've built a good life here. I'm successful. I'm helping people. I'm happy with who I am. Why should I risk all of that to give you another chance? Because, I said, reaching into my pocket for the necklace I bought, you deserve to be loved by someone who will fight for you instead of giving up on you at the first sign of trouble. I handed her the small jewelry box. She opened it and stared at the pendant. Truth, she read aloud. That's what our relationship should have been built on from the beginning. The truth that I love you. The truth that you're good for me and Ngozi. The truth that my family's opinions matter less than my own heart. Amara, I can't promise that loving me will be easy. I can't promise that we won't face other challenges. But I can promise that I will never again choose anyone else's version of the truth over yours. What about your mother and sister? Are they still living in your house? Still controlling your life? They moved out that same night. For good. And Ngozi? How does she feel about all of this? She misses you. She's been missing you for 5 months. But my mother and sister convinced her that talking about you would make me sad. So she's been carrying this burden alone. Not anymore. Ngozi and I had a long conversation about everything that happened. She knows that I know the truth, and she knows that she can talk to me about anything without fear of being silenced. Amara walked over the window and stared out at the street for several minutes. Chukwemeka, if I give you another chance, things have to be different. How? I need to know that you trust me. Really trust me. Not just when things are easy, but when things get complicated and people try to come between us. You have my word. I need to know that Ngozi's voice matters to you, that you'll listen to her even when it's inconvenient. I've already changed my work schedule to make sure I have time for her every day. No interruptions, no exceptions. And I need to know that you're choosing me because you want me, not because you feel guilty about what happened. I walked over to where she was standing and gently turned her to face me. Amara, I'm choosing you because 5 months without you has been the worst 5 months of my life. I'm choosing you because I wake up every morning wishing I could share my coffee with you. I'm choosing you because I see couples laughing together and I miss laughing with you. I'm choosing you because you made me a better man, and I want to be that man again. I'm choosing you because when I thought about what kind of stepmother I wanted from Ngozi, you were everything I could have hoped for. I'm choosing you because you respected Adaora's memory while still making space for your own place in our family. She was crying now, and so was I. Most of all, I'm choosing you because I love you, not because it's convenient or comfortable, but because you're the best thing that's happened to me since Adora died, and I was an idiot to let anyone convince me otherwise. Amara looked into my eyes for a long time, like she was searching for something. If we do this, she said finally, we're doing it right. No more letting other people interfere in our relationship. No more choosing family politics over our love for each other. Agreed. And we're going to counseling, both of us individually and together. We need to learn how to communicate better and how to handle outside pressure. Whatever you need. And Chukwamika, if you ever again send me away without listening to my side of the story, we're done forever. I won't survive having my heart broken like that twice. It will never happen again. Amara, I swear to you on Ngozi's life. She stepped closer to me and placed her hands on my chest. Do you remember what you said to me when you proposed at Lekki Conservation Center? I said that you had shown me that the heart has an unlimited capacity for love. That's right, and I want you to remember that, because we're going to need a lot of love to rebuild what was broken. Does that mean you'll give us another chance? Instead of answering with words, Amara stood on her toes and kissed me. It was soft and tentative at first, like she was testing whether this was real. Then it deepened, and I felt 5 months of grief and longing pour out of both of us. When we finally broke apart, she was smiling through her tears. I never stopped loving you either, Chukwamika. Even when I was furious with you, even when I thought I'd never see you again, I never stopped loving you. We spent the rest of that morning talking about everything that had happened during our time apart. Amara told me about the challenges of starting her business while dealing with heartbreak, about the night she cried herself to sleep missing me and Ngozi. I told her about my own grief, about throwing myself into work to avoid the pain, about the growing suspicion that something wasn't right. Chukwamika, can I ask you something? Anything. Why didn't you come looking for me sooner? Even if you believe what your family told you about that day, didn't you miss me enough to want to see me again? It was a fair question. I think I was afraid. I admitted, afraid that if I saw you again, I'd realize I'd made a mistake. And if I'd made a mistake about something that important, what did that say about my judgment? What changed? Ngozi, watching her try so desperately to tell me something, and realizing that I wasn't listening to the person whose opinion should matter most to me. She's a remarkable young woman. She is. And she loves you, Amara. She's been missing you as much as I have. I've missed her too. I've missed our dinners and helping her with homework and hearing about her day at school. Would you like to see her? More than anything. But Chukwamika, we need to take this slowly. She's been through a lot, and I don't want to confuse her or get her hopes up if we're not sure this is going to work. I understand, but I think she'd like to know that you're back in our lives, even if we're taking things one step at a time. That evening, I picked up Ngozi from school myself, something I'd started doing every day since our midnight conversation. And WM, I have something to tell you. What is it, Papa? I went to see Amara today. Ngozi's eyes went wide. You did? What happened? She forgave me. She's willing to try again. But Ngozi, it's going to take time for us to rebuild what was broken. We're not just going to go back to the way things were before. I understand, Papa. I just want to know that I never believed what Grandma and Auntie Chioma said about her. You can tell her that yourself. She's coming to dinner tomorrow night. Ngozi's face lit up. Really? Really? But sweetheart, we all need to be patient with each other. We all got hurt, and it's going to take time to heal. I know, Papa, but we can heal together, right? I hope so, NWAM. I really hope so. The next evening, when Amara arrived for dinner at our Lekki home, Ngozi ran to her and wrapped her in the biggest hug I'd ever seen. I missed you so much, Ngozi said, crying. I miss you too, sweetheart, Amara replied, holding my daughter like she was afraid to let her go. Amara, I tried to tell Papa what really happened. I tried so many times, but I know, Ngozi. Your father told me. And I want you to know that none of this was your fault. You did everything you could to tell the truth. But I should have tried harder. No, sweetheart, you're a child, and the adults around you should have made it safe for you to speak your truth. That wasn't your responsibility. Watching Amara come for my daughter, I realized something profound. This woman didn't just love me. She understood how to love my daughter in exactly the way Ngozi needed. That dinner was the beginning of our healing process. We talked openly about everything that had happened. For the first time in months, our house felt like a home again. Over the next few weeks, Amara and I rebuilt our relationship slowly and carefully. We went on dates, just the two of us, relearning how to be together without the pressure and interference we'd faced before. We also spent time together with Ngozi, rediscovering what it felt like to be a family. We started couples counseling with Dr. Adeyemi at a practice in Ikoyi, which helped us develop better communication skills and strategies for handling outside pressure. 1 month after our reconciliation, I proposed Amara again. This time I did it at home with Ngozi present, because I wanted our daughter to be part of the moment when we officially committed to being a family. Amara, I said, getting down on one knee in our living room. The first time I proposed to you, I thought I was offering you a place in our family. Now I realize that you've been part of our family all along. You're already Ngozi's stepmother in every way that matters, and you're already my partner in every decision we make. Ngozi was sitting on the couch, grinning from ear to ear. This time, I'm not asking you to join our family. I'm asking you to let us make official what's already true in our hearts. Will you marry me? Not because I'm offering you something new, but because I want the whole world to know that you're already everything we need. Yes, Amara said through happy tears. Yes, I'll marry you. When I slipped the ring on her finger, Ngozi cheered and jumped up to hug both of us. We're really going to be a family. We already are a family, NWAM. We're just going to make it official. We were married 6 weeks later in a small ceremony in our backyard in Lekki, surrounded by friends and the family members who had supported our relationship from the beginning. Ngozi was our maid of honor, and she gave a speech that brought everyone to tears. My papa taught me that family isn't just about who you're related to. It's about who chooses to love you and stand by you even when things get difficult. Amara chose to love us, and she kept loving us even when it was hard. That makes her the best stepmom in the world. After the ceremony, as Amara and I danced to our wedding song, Sweet Mother by Prince Nico Mbarga, she whispered in my ear, I love you, Chukwemeka Okonkwo, and I love the man you become through all of this. What kind of man have I become? The kind of man who listens to his daughter. The kind of man who fights for the people he loves. The kind of man who can admit when he's wrong and work to make it right. I love you too, Amara Okonkwo, and I promise you'll never have to doubt that again. Our first year of marriage was everything I had hoped it would be. Our house was filled with laughter, conversation, and the kind of warmth that comes from people who genuinely enjoy being together. Amara's pharmacy business continued to thrive. She expanded to a second location in Aja and started a mobile clinic that served communities in Makoko and Ajigunle. Ngozi flourished, having both of us fully present and engaged in her life. Her grades improved at Corona School. She made new friends, and she developed a confidence that reflected knowing she was truly heard and valued. Most importantly, I had learned to be the kind of father my daughter deserved, one who made time for her every day, who listened to her thoughts and feelings, and who made sure she always knew that her voice mattered more than anyone else's. 2 years after Amara and I remarried, we received news that changed everything. Neoma had suffered a heart attack and was in the hospital, at Lagos University Teaching Hospital. Despite everything that had happened, she was still my mother, and I couldn't ignore her medical crisis. I want to go see her, I told Amara. Of course you do. She's your mother. Will you come with me? If you want me there, I'll be there. Ngozi, I think Ngozi should choose for herself whether she wants to see her grandmother. When we asked Ngozi, she thought about it for a long time. I want to see Grandma, but only if we can all go together. I don't want to be alone with her and Auntie Chioma. We'll all go together, I promised. At the hospital, Neoma looked smaller and frilier than I'd ever seen her. Chioma was sitting beside her bed, and when she saw us walk in, her expression was a mixture of relief and resentment. Chukwemeka, Neoma said weakly. You came. Of course I came, Mama. You're in the hospital. I thought after everything that happened, you might not want to see me. I looked at my mother lying in that hospital bed. Despite all the pain she had caused, I felt love for her. But it was a different kind of love with boundaries. Mama, I will always love you. But I can't have you in my life if you're going to continue trying to hurt my family. I wasn't trying to hurt your family. I was trying to protect it. From what? From making the same mistakes I made. From trusting the wrong people. Amara stepped forward. Mrs. Okonkwo, what mistakes do you think you made? Neoma looked at Amara with surprise. I trusted people who said they loved me, but really just wanted what I could give them. And you thought I was doing the same thing to Chukwemeka? I thought you were too good to be true. I thought someone that perfect had to be hiding something. Mrs. Okonkwo, I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. I have bad days. But I love your son and your granddaughter, and I would never do anything to hurt them. I can see that now. I can see how happy Chukwemeka is, how well Ngozi is doing. I was wrong about you. Chioma shifted uncomfortably in her chair. Mama, don't. No, Chioma. I'm tired of being wrong. I'm tired of being angry. I'm tired of missing my son and granddaughter because I was too stubborn to admit my mistakes. Over the next hour, we had the most honest conversation our family had ever had. Neoma apologized for what she had done to Amara and for manipulating Ngozi. She admitted that she had been afraid of losing her importance in our lives, and that she had let that fear turn her into someone she didn't recognize. Chioma was less willing to accept responsibility, but she eventually acknowledged that their actions had been wrong. What happens now? Neoma asked. Now we start over. But things have to be different this time. You have to respect my marriage and my decisions about my family. You have to treat Amara with the respect she deserves. And you have to understand that Ngozi's well-being comes before anyone else's feelings. Can you forgive us? I looked at Amara and Ngozi, then back at my mother. I can forgive you. But forgiveness doesn't mean things go back to the way they were. It means we start building something new based on honesty and respect. I understand. And Mama, if you ever again try to interfere in my relationship or manipulate my daughter, you'll lose us permanently. No second chances, no explanations, no exceptions. I understand that too. It took 2 more years, but gradually we were able to rebuild a relationship with Neoma and Chioma that was based on healthy boundaries and mutual respect. They learned to appreciate Amara for who she was, and Amara was gracious enough to welcome them back into our lives once they proved they could be trusted. Ngozi, now 17, had grown into a confident, articulate young woman who understood the importance of speaking her truth and standing up for the people she loved. Papa, she said to me one day, I'm glad everything happened the way it did, even the painful parts, especially the painful parts, because they taught us how to really listen to each other and how to fight for our family. She was right. The betrayal and heartbreak we had experienced had ultimately made us stronger. Now, looking back on everything that happened, I've learned some valuable lessons. I've learned to listen more than I speak, to trust my woman more than I doubt, and to choose love over fear every single time. I've also learned that the people who truly love you will support your happiness, even when it means their role in your life might change. And the people who try to control your happiness for their own benefit don't really love you at all. The biggest lesson? Children often see the truth more clearly than adults do. When your child tries to tell you something important, listen. Even if it's inconvenient, even if it contradicts what other adults are telling you. Your children's voices matter more than anyone else's opinions about your life. What a journey. From betrayal to redemption, from heartbreak to healing. Did Chukwuemeka deserve Amar's forgiveness? Comment, "True love wins," if the story touched your heart. Like and subscribe for next chapter. The final chapter where we see the ultimate lesson. You won't want to miss the conclusion. 3 years after Mara and I remarried, life had settled into a beautiful rhythm. Our blended family was thriving. Amara's pharmacy empire had grown to 5 locations across Lagos, and she'd been featured in Forbes Africa as one of Nigeria's most innovative healthcare entrepreneurs. Ngozi was now 16, excelling at Corona School and already receiving scholarship offers from universities abroad. She had become an advocate for children's voices, speaking at youth conferences about the importance of adults listening to young people. My relationship with Neoma and Chioma had slowly healed. They had learned to respect boundaries, and while things would never be the same as before, we had found a new way to be family, one based on honesty rather than control. But life, as I've learned, always has one more lesson to teach. It started on a Tuesday morning when I received a call from my lawyer, Barrister Okafor. "Chukwuemeka, we need to talk. It's about your sister Chioma." "What about her?" "She's filed a lawsuit against you. She's claiming that you owe her compensation for the years she spent helping to raise Ngozi after Adora passed away." I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. "What?" "She's demanding 50 million naira. She claims that she sacrificed her career opportunities to care for your daughter and that you should compensate her for those lost opportunities." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. After everything we'd been through, after forgiveness and reconciliation, Chioma was coming after me with a lawsuit. This doesn't make sense. We've been rebuilding our relationship. Why would she do this now? According to the documents, she's been struggling financially. She lost her job 6 months ago and has been unable to find new employment. She claims that her years of unpaid childcare work left gaps in her resume that have made her unemployable. That evening, I sat down with Amara to discuss the situation. "I can't believe she would do this," I said, "after everything." Amara was quiet for a moment, then said something that surprised me. "Chukwuemeka, maybe we should pay her." "What? Why would we reward this kind of behavior?" "Not as a reward, as closure. Think about it. Chioma did help with Ngozi for several years. And yes, she made terrible choices and hurt us all. But maybe this is her way of asking for help when she's too proud to ask directly. But 50 million naira? We don't have to pay what she's asking. But we could offer her something reasonable, enough to help her get back on her feet and complete some training or education that would make her more employable." I looked at my wife with renewed admiration. Even after everything Chioma had done to her, Amara was willing to show grace. "You're a better person than I am." "No, I'm just someone who's learned that holding on to anger hurts us more than it hurts the people we're angry at. Besides, Ngozi is watching how we handle this. What lesson do we want to teach her?" She was right, as usual. The next day, I called Chioma directly. "Chioma, I got the lawsuit." There was a long pause. "Chukwuemeka, I'm sorry. I didn't know what else to do. I've been struggling and Why didn't you just ask me for help?" Another pause. "Because I was ashamed. After everything I did, I didn't feel like I had the right to ask you for anything. So instead you sue me?" I know it doesn't make sense. But the lawyer said this was the only way to make sure I got what I deserved for those years of work. "Chioma, you're my sister. If you're struggling, you should have come to me. Not with a lawsuit, but as family." I could hear her crying on the other end of the line. "I'm going to make you an offer," I said. "I'll give you 10 million naira, not because the lawsuit is merit, but because you're my sister and you helped raise my daughter during a difficult time. But there are conditions." "What conditions?" "You drop the lawsuit immediately. You use the money to get proper training or education that will help you build a career. And you agree to go to therapy to work through whatever is making you sabotage your own life." "Chukwuemeka, those are the terms. Chioma, take them or leave them." A week later, Chioma dropped the lawsuit and accepted the offer. She enrolled in a business management program at Pan Atlantic University and started seeing a therapist. 6 months after that, she came to our house for Sunday lunch, something that had become a monthly tradition. "Chukwemeka Amara," she said after the meal, "I need to say something." We all looked at her, me, Amara, Ngozi, and even Neoma, who had also been invited. "I've been doing a lot of work in therapy," Chioma continued, "and I've realized that everything I did, framing Amara, manipulating Ngozi, even a lawsuit, it was all because I was terrified of being irrelevant." She looked directly at Amara. "When you came into Chukwemeka's life, I saw you as a threat. You were successful, independent, and you didn't need anyone. I had spent my whole life being needed by my family, and suddenly it felt like I wasn't necessary anymore. So I tried to make myself indispensable by making you look bad. I convinced myself I was protecting Chukwemeka and Ngozi, but really, I was just protecting my own position in the family." Amara reached across the table and took Chioma's hand. "Thank you for being honest. I know that wasn't easy. I don't deserve your kindness after what I did to you." "Maybe not," Amara said gently, "but I'm giving it anyway, because holding on to anger was making me sick, and forgiveness set me free." Chioma started crying. "I'm so sorry. I'm sorry for framing you. I'm sorry for keeping Ngozi from telling the truth. I'm sorry for all of it." "I forgive you," Amara said simply. Neoma, who had been quiet throughout the meal, spoke up. "I need to apologize too," she said. "I was the mother. I should have been wiser. I should have seen what we were doing was wrong. Instead, I encouraged it because I was scared of losing my place in my son's life." "Mama," I started to say. "No, let me finish. Amara, you were nothing but kind and respectful to me from the day you met Chukwemeka, and I repaid that kindness with suspicion and cruelty. I taught my daughter to do the same. I'm ashamed of the person I became." She turned to Ngozi. "And you, my granddaughter. I manipulated you to stay quiet about the truth. I made you feel guilty for loving someone who was good to you. That was unforgivable." "I forgive you, Grandma," Ngozi said quietly. "But I hope you understand now why I need to always tell the truth, even when it's hard." "I do understand. And I'm proud of the young woman you're becoming. You're braver than I ever was." After they left that evening, I sat with Amara and Ngozi in our living room. That was unexpected. I said, "People can change," Amara replied, "if we give them the space to do it." "Amara," Ngozi said, "can I ask you something?" "Of course, sweetheart." "How did you forgive them? After everything they did to you?" Amara thought for a moment. "I forgave them because carrying that anger was like drinking poison and expecting them to die. It was hurting me more than it was hurting them. But also," she continued, "I forgave them because I saw that your father had learned from his mistakes. And if he could change, if we could heal, then maybe they could too. Plus," she added with a smile, "I learned from your mother." "My mother?" Ngozi looked surprised. "Your father told me that when your mother was sick, she never became bitter. Even when she was in pain, she chose to focus on love rather than anger. That's the kind of woman I wanted to be." Ngozi started crying, and Amara pulled her close. "Your mother would be so proud of you," Amara whispered. "And I'm honored to be the one helping raise the incredible young woman she started creating." 1 year later, we gathered for another family celebration. But this time, it was different. Chioma had completed her business program and had gotten a job as a manager at a marketing firm in Victoria Island. She was thriving, and more importantly, she was genuinely happy. Neoma had joined a support group for elderly parents learning to let their adult children live their own lives. She had made new friends and developed hobbies that didn't revolve around controlling her children. And Ngozi had just been accepted to Harvard University with a full scholarship. She planned to study public health, inspired by Amara's work in community health care. As we all sat around a table in our Lekki home, me, Amara, Ngozi, Neoma, Chioma, and even some of Amara's family who had flown in from Calabar, I looked around and marveled at how far we'd all come. "I want to make a toast," I said, standing up with my glass of Chapman. Everyone quieted down and looked at me. 5 years ago, I made the worst mistake of my life. I let fear and other people's opinions convince me to send away the woman I loved. I chose to believe a lie instead of trusting the person I claimed to love more than anything. I looked at Amara, but that mistake taught me the most important lesson of my life. That real love requires trust, even when it's inconvenient. Real love requires listening, even when you don't want to hear what's being said. And real love requires choosing your partner over and over again, especially when other people try to come between you. I turned to Ngozi. My daughter taught me that children see truth more clearly than adults do. She tried to tell me the truth for months, and I was too busy, too distracted, too controlled by other people to listen. I will never make that mistake again. Then I looked at Neoma and Chioma. My mother and sister taught me that hurt people hurt people. They were acting out of their own fear and insecurity. And while that doesn't excuse what they did, understanding it helped me forgive them. But most importantly, I said, looking back at Mara, this woman taught me what grace looks like. She had every right to never speak to me again. She had every right to hold on to her anger forever. Instead, she chose forgiveness. She chose love. She chose us. So here's my toast to Amara, who loved us enough to give us a second chance. To Ngozi, who was brave enough to keep trying to tell the truth. To my mother and sister, who were humble enough to admit their mistakes and change. And to all of us who learned that family isn't about being perfect. It's about being willing to grow. Cheers, everyone said together. As we drank and laughed and shared stories, I caught Amara's eye across the table. She smiled at me, that same smile that had captured my heart in the pharmacy 5 years ago. And I knew, without a doubt, that every painful moment, every mistake, every heartbreak had been worth it to get to this moment. Because this was what love looked like. Messy, complicated, difficult, and absolutely worth fighting for. Epilogue. If you're reading this story, I want you to take away a few important lessons. First, listen to your children. They often see things adults miss because they haven't learned yet to ignore what's right in front of them. When your child tries to tell you something important, stop everything and listen, even if it's inconvenient, even if it contradicts what other adults are telling you. Second, trust the person you love. If you claim to love someone, you owe them the courtesy of hearing their side of the story before making judgments. Real love is built on trust, and trust requires giving people the benefit of the doubt. Third, set boundaries with family. Loving your family doesn't mean letting them control your life. You can love your mother, your sister, your brother, and still choose your spouse and children first. That's not betrayal. That's the natural order of things. Fourth, forgiveness is powerful. Not because the people who hurt you deserve it, but because holding on to anger hurts you more than it hurts them. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or excusing. It means choosing to stop letting the past poison your present. Fifth, people can change, but only if they want to. My mother and sister changed because they chose to do the work of examining their own behavior and making different choices. You can't force someone to change, but you can create space for them to do so if they're willing. Finally, real love is worth fighting for. Not the easy, comfortable feeling you get in the beginning, but the deep, committed, choose each other every day kind of love that survives mistakes and betrayal and comes out stronger on the other side. Amara and I have now been married for 4 years, the second time. We have built a life based on honesty, trust, and mutual respect. We've learned to communicate better, to handle outside pressure together, and to always put our relationship first. Ngozi is thriving at Harvard, calling home every week to tell us about her classes and her dreams of opening health clinics across Africa. My mother and sister are part of our lives, but with healthy boundaries that everyone respects. And me, I've learned to be the kind of man, husband, and father that the people I love deserve. I'm not perfect. I still make mistakes. But now, when I do, I know how to apologize, make amends, and do better. Because that's what real love looks like. Not perfection, but commitment. Not never falling, but always getting back up. Not avoiding conflict, but learning to work through it together. If you're in a situation where family is trying to control your relationship, I hope my story gives you the courage to set boundaries. If you made a mistake like I did, I hope my story gives you the courage to apologize and fight for what matters. If you're a child who sees something wrong, but adults won't listen, I hope my story reminds you to keep trying to speak your truth. And if you're someone who's been hurt the way Amar was hurt, I hope my story shows you that forgiveness is possible, but only on your own terms, only when you're ready, and only if the person who hurt you has truly changed. Life is too short to waste on people who don't value you, but it's also too short to hold on to anger that's poisoning your own happiness. The key is knowing the difference. And may you always choose love, truth, and the courage to listen, especially to the people who matter most. The end. What an incredible journey. From betrayal to complete redemption. This story teaches us so much about trust, forgiveness, and the power of listening to our children. Discussion time. Comment below. Would you have forgiven Chioma and Neoma after what they did? Do you think Chukwemeka made the right choice giving Chioma 10 million naira? What's the most important lesson you learned from this story? Have you ever been in a situation where family tried to control your relationship? If this story touched your heart, smash that like button. Subscribe to African Tales by Zion for more powerful stories that teach life lessons. Share this with someone who needs to hear about forgiveness and second chances. Turn on notifications so you never miss our next story. Comment family boundaries if you believe in healthy relationships. Comment listen to children if Ngozi's story inspired you. Remember these lessons. Always listen to your children. They often see the truth. Trust is a foundation of real love. Set boundaries with family who try to control you. Forgiveness frees you, not just the person who hurt you. Real love is worth fighting for. Thank you for joining us on this emotional journey. May you always choose truth, love, and the courage to do what's right, even when it's hard. See you in the next story.